All right, everyone, welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Game Time and Prize Picks. It's Brian Hines back, as always, with Alex Barth. Day 12 of Patriots training camp is over down there at Gillette today on Sunday. Had a couple of days off there after the first preseason game on Thursday, but back on the practice fields today, gearing up for what they were all calling a big week, right? We have Philly coming on Tuesday, and then the second preseason game is, going to be here before you know it on Thursday. But back to training camp today, back to full pads. We were just saying, like, we were kind of expecting maybe today's a low-key day. We got out there, and the field was lined with conditioning cones and some of that stuff. So we said maybe today's going to be a little bit of a low-key day, but then the refs came on the field for the first time in the summer. And the full pads were on, and then we got a good amount of team drills and competitive drills and periods to talk about. So we have some stuff to break down, which is always good. But let's start with the quarterbacks. And before we get into how they actually performed today, I want to talk about their reps and the usage, because that was the main storyline last Thursday, right? With Jacoby and Drake only getting a series. Those two dominated the reps today. Jacoby was still, with the projected starters, but he got 33 snaps total, 23 in 11s, 10 and 7s. Maye got 36, so he actually outsnapped him. He got the last 1 minute drive, so it was a little bit more there. 26 snaps in 11s, 10 in 7s. And then Bailey Zappi and Joe Milton didn't get any action in 7-on-7s, and then they got 1 period each, 5 total plays, 3 for Zappi and 2 for Milton down there in a late 11-on-11 session in the red area. So it was all Jacoby Brissett. It was all Drake Maye. I wouldn't say I was very surprised with that after what we saw Thursday night, but were you surprised with that? And does the heavy workload today, and you'd assume that might look like this against Philly and even tomorrow, does that change your mind at all about how they handled that Thursday night preseason opener, where again Brissett and Maye only played 1 series apiece?
I mean, I still think Drake Maye should have played more. Practice in the game are different, but I think I think we are seeing a ramp up. Now, Zappi and Milton did get some reps in 7-on-7, like on the side field, on the second field, and they went split field a little bit, but it definitely, this reminded me a little more, and I wrote this today on 985thesportshub.com, and don't read into this as saying it's the same kind of competition, because I don't think it quite is. But this reminded me more of how they split up the reps between Cam Newton and Mac Jones in 2021, where Cam Newton, until the very end there, was the presumed starter. He would get the first reps, but the number of reps significantly favored Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones was working with the 1s and 2s. For now, Drake Maye's only working with the 2s, but maybe that starts to shift. So it reminded me a little more of that, right? I think you are starting to see now they're giving Jacoby what needs to get ready, and the rest of it, the focus is on Drake Maye's development.
Yeah. Again, Maye outsnapped him. Actually, it was 36-33. He got that last. It was like 1:20 on the clock, so one of those hurry-up drives where he actually led them into a field goal range. So a little bit more positive there, because that's an area he's kind of struggled the past week or so in those hurry-up situations. So yeah, he outsnapped them. He's getting a lot of work, and you're right, that was how things kind of tended there with Mac at the end there. But what'd you think of their performances today? You can start with either Jacoby or Drake. Again, not much from Zappi and Milton. They went, they only in 11s, they were over 3 combined, and it was 3 inaccurate passes, so nothing from them. But Jacoby and Drake, I thought they were both pretty solid today. Did you see that the same, and what'd you think of them?
So yeah, I thought Brissett had his best day. I thought he had a really strong day throwing the football, and you can see him starting to build the chemistry with these wide receivers. Is interesting. KJ Osborne broke down for us after practice. The best throw from Jacoby Brissett today was he gets pressure from Matthew Judon on his blind side. He's rolling to the right. He hits Osborne in a tight window in the back of the end zone, and KJ Osborne told us after practice, 1, he's his 3rd read on that play, and 2, they put that play in this morning. So to be able to execute that play at a high level, which was probably the first time they ran it, like that was early in practice. I don't know how many times they ran that look, which wasn't designed to be a rollout. It sounded like. That's encouraging. I thought Jacoby Brissett had a good day. Drake Maye more of the same, ups and downs, highs and lows, a little bit better in the 1.5-minute drill, was able to get the team in a field goal range. We'll get to the kickers, I'm sure, at some point. He did have a problem with passes getting batted down at the line of scrimmage today, though. He had 3 of those, including one that turned into an interception, another one that was very close to being an interception. Yeah, so you see some progress. I thought he made some good throws today on the move. In particular, there was one sequence where he rolled to his right, dropped the arm angle, delivered a strike to, I think it was Austin Hooper, and then comes back on the next play, tries to make the same throw, and that was the one that was nearly intercepted. Like, exact same thing. So it's just testing things, figuring out what works. Another one where he had like a really bad miss on a throw in the end zone, came back the next play, delivered a strike to LaMichael Petway, tight window throw, plenty of zip. So you like the bounce back, and that's good, but you want to see less opportunities to bounce back, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the first one you were talking about, it was one of those, it kind of went to an out of structure play, right? And he looked like he was ready to take off to his left. And then I think it was Jaheim Bell kind of just got open over the middle. And yeah, he dropped the arm and he tried to zip it in there, but it got batted up in the air and then almost intercepted. But then, yeah, he comes back to a pretty similar play. And then you see the out of structure stuff work, and he hit one of his tight ends. And then, yeah, another batted pass that got picked off. But he comes back the next play and hits LaMichael Petway in the end zone there on a really nice anticipation kind of corner route there. So, and then even earlier, he had the one, it was kind of like a play action boot out to his left. And, you see that arm angle stuff again. He whipped it in there to Jalen Polk. And before that, he lofted like a really nice corner to Mitchell Wilcox, who couldn't make the catch. But I think you're seeing a lot of what we've seen from Drake Maye outside of, the bad passes and maybe that one pass to Bell we were just talking about. Like, he's still making really good decisions with the football. He's not really putting the football in harm's way a lot. Even that hurry up drill, all underneath, like he's living underneath. He's taking what the defense gave him. No incompletions in that hurry up drill. Seemed like there were a lot of times he was trying to push the ball downfield, but either the defense was rotating out to give him something he didn't like, or it just wasn't there. And, he comes back and takes what's underneath. So, you're seeing good decision-making again, like the physical tools with that arm angle stuff. And I think it's been pretty positive from Drake Maye. I would still like to see him at some point here get reps with the starters. Like we mentioned, I would say the offense, there wasn't as much pressure today on either Jacoby or Drake. Like, we weren't blowing plays dead immediately for sacks, but you're still seeing some of the drops, even in one-on-ones. Like, I think CLNS had it on Patriots CLNS on Twitter, like lofts one right into the bucket to Antonio Gibson, and he bobbles it up into the air, and Juwan Bentley picks it off. That was one-on-one. So, but you're still seeing, the supporting cast isn't always boosting Drake Maye up. So that's where I would still like to see him try to get some reps with the starters at some point, just to see how that looks.
Yeah, again, like, he's got to earn them, but they got to give him a chance to earn them. Is kind of where I've been at. And the starters at this point, I mean, that line hasn't been great either. So,
yeah. You don't think he's earned them yet?
I mean, he hasn't really had an opportunity to do so.
With one possession in the preseason.
Right, exactly.
I think his practice performances have, of late especially, we had that little blip in the radar when the pads first came back, but ever since that, like, first day off after that block of practices, I feel like he's been trending pretty positively. So I'd like to see him. I think he's earned them, and we'd all like to see him, but I think he's earned those snaps with the starters as well there.
Yeah.
So maybe Philly, I don't know, that might be a weird time to do it if, I'm assuming they're going to want to get Jacoby a lot of run against another defense with the first team offense, because it's just one day of practices. It's just Tuesday before the game. So,
right.
We'll see how.
Well, if they do it like Bill, if they do it like Bill, the game reps and joint practice reps will count together. So maybe Jacoby or Brissett reps a ton in practice, and Drake Maye gets more reps in the game, or vice versa.
Yeah, I think, didn't Mayo say something? I could try to pull it up this morning, that maybe the offensive line might play a little bit more in the preseason game too. So yeah, maybe we'll see a lot of Jacoby with the quote unquote starters still in the joint practice, and then Maye could get a little bit of extended run with that starting offensive line and some of those top receivers when you get to Thursday night actually in game action. So that could be a good way to kind of split it up going forward there. But Jacoby, you said it as well, just really solid day, probably one of his best day. He had like a few misses early, but he really settled in. The touchdown to Osborne was really nice. So you're still seeing some good play out of him as well there. So anything else you have on the quarterbacks? I believe that was it, but
yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
all right.
Didn't see
You
a ton of
mentioned
the other two guys today, so
yeah. Again, they had 5 total plays and 11s and 3 passes, and they were all inaccurate passes,
right.
incompletions. So not much from those guys there. But you hinted at the offensive line. Still the same unit from what we've been seeing. Vidarian Lowe at left tackle, Chuks Okorafor at right tackle, and then that interior 3 has been consistent with City So, David Andrews, and Mike Onwenu. Again, I wouldn't say the pressure was as bad today, but it still doesn't seem like the most ideal situation with Vidarian Lowe out there at left tackle, and even Chuks. He spoke after practice. He didn't love his preseason opener. Again, he only played the 2 drives there, and he was coming off an injury, so maybe you chalk that up to that. But tackle position is still a worry, and it's still Vidarian Lowe and Chuks right now.
Yeah, I just don't know how you saw what you saw in that first game and not make changes. Neither of them were good. Vidarian Lowe regularly getting walked back. Chuks Okorafor is better, but had a bad false start penalty. And you didn't. I guess the only caveat is you didn't see enough of them to evaluate him, which to me is a wasted opportunity. But Gerard Mayo said by the end of the second preseason game, they want to know who their line is moving forward for week 1. That's 5 days from now. So right now, it looks like Vidarian Lowe is your starting left tackle. We'll see what he does this week. But if he really struggles this week and you want to know it by the end of that game, like, okay, so now what? Do you still move forward? Because you haven't really given anybody else a chance. So I do think Vidarian Lowe is right now on track to be their week 1 starting left tackle. And if they don't trust that line to protect Drake Maye, then I don't know when we see Drake Maye, because it's not going to get bet. They're not going to really add any options at left tackle. They may add some fringe players like they did last year with Lowe and Tyrone Wheatley. But I still don't understand the plan. And that's not new coming from me. I've been saying that since March, but I still don't understand the plan. I still don't even see necessarily a plan.
Yeah, it's annoying that it has to be so tied into the quarterbacks too, because it's affecting the Drake Maye and even Jacoby at times. Like in practice, there's some dead plays here and there. But are you worried at all that like Caden Wallace isn't making a push here, or they're not obviously seeing what they like from Caden Wallace to oversee Vidarian Lowe on that left side? Because that still seems like the ideal outcome right now, is that Caden Wallace can make a push to be the starting left tackle. But as you said, like we're 5 days away, 6 days away from them having from their timeline what they set that they want to have the starting line. And I don't see him making a push at this point, like that he could unseat Vidarian Lowe. So are you worried that Caden Wallace, just isn't, he's repping with that second unit still and he's not making a push?
I mean, they haven't, I wouldn't say worried, they haven't given him a chance. And I think, was he left or right today with second unit? I forget.
I think he was left. I think Calvin Anderson was right. So
they've been moving him around, which again, like the development plan, let him pick a spot and develop there. But he's probably their second option if it doesn't work with Lowe. I don't want to say I'm concerned. I don't think he's looked that bad. He hasn't looked amazing, but he hasn't looked terrible. I thought he had a solid, for what it was, a solid preseason opener. But I don't know. They're not giving him a chance. I'm almost at the point at this point where it kind of has to be Vidarian Lowe, because putting Caden Wallace at left tackle cold without necessarily having a ton of time to prepare and that not being his natural position, there's significant risk with that as well. So I would have liked to see, if the plan was for Wallace to play left tackle, I would have liked to see a lot more of that over the last few weeks. Or Chuks Okorafor if they're going to move him back there. But again, it's just they've spent so much time at this point getting Vidarian Lowe ready to be left tackle. I feel like they're almost past the point of no return, at least for week 1. I'm sure things will change if it doesn't work during the season. We went through this last year with Mike Onwenu playing guard versus playing tackle. But I don't know, Brian, you tell me, like, when is that point of no return? Mayo has said the second preseason game. But if it really looks that bad, you can't imagine he's going to go with it based on a deadline he set, almost a month ago now. When's the point of no return that Vidarian Lowe's your week 1 starter?
I mean, last year they were getting guys back the week before game 1,
That's
and they were
right.
plugging them back in, right? Like Calvin Anderson missed the whole summer and then came back, like was activated a week or maybe 10 days before the week 1 game, and they plugged him right back in. And that, like, they had a ton of injuries there, but you're still kind of the same spot there. So the second preseason game is August 15th, and then the first game is September 8th. So you have 3 weeks in between the second preseason game, the deadline again that they set, and week 1, and then one more preseason game in between there. So I mean, they could still switch it up. Like, obviously they could switch it up, but yeah, if it doesn't look good, like after this preseason game, like all 4 just continue to try to tinker with this thing. It's like I would rather, if it's Vidarian Lowe or Caden Wallace, like I would rather try to go through the growing pains with Caden Wallace, because at least he's younger and he's going to get the experience. Or we've even talked about maybe Layden Robinson pushes Big Mike back outside to right tackle, which I think we all like Mike Onwenu at guard. But if it gets really dire, like maybe Layden Robinson makes a push, and it.
Although I don't know if you heard Mayo today on Layden Robinson was
just going to say, like, we were thinking that because I think we all thought Layden Robinson looked pretty good Thursday, and Mayo seemed to kind of throw some cold water on that, say he had a long way to go when he asked about him this morning. So maybe that's not an option, bumping Layden Robinson up and Big Mike outside. But yeah, it's interesting up front. And again, it's annoying that we're just here and that it's impacting, maybe Drake May's timeline now, but it's interesting. And again, we're really close to that deadline right now that they kind of set for themselves to find the starters. So we'll keep seeing how this shakes out. But yeah, it's been Vidarian Lowe for about 2 weeks at left tackle now, so you'd assume that's where they're going to keep trending. So anything else offensive line there? No, nothing real big today with the second unit, or
I think that's
still that
I mean,
spot,
the only notable thing is Liam Fornadell got some reps at center today, where we've been seeing
that's kind of new. It's been Mafi,
right? Mafi and Charles Turner. Mafi was at guard with that group. Fornadell got some, and I mean, I think he snapped like 3 or 4 balls, but without incident. So just something to keep an eye on, I guess.
Yep, they need a backup or Nick Leverett, but need some other guys with experience there. So before we get to the rest of the offense, let's take a very quick break, and we'll hear from our friends over at Game Time. I got to talk to you guys about Game Time, which is the authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, and it makes getting tickets faster and easier because prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying all your MLB tickets. They have flash deals to save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event, and zone deals to save if you're looking to sit in a specific section. It is baseball season, and the Red Sox are hot, and while they're going on the road for the next week, they'll be back in Fenway against the Yankees, where you can see All-Star Game MVP Jarren Duran as the Red Sox continue to make their playoff push. And if you're in the Boston area, if you're around Fenway, Cask and Flagon, Bleacher Bar, getting a bite to eat, getting a drink, Game Time has last-minute deals where you can save up to 60% off on buying last-minute tickets for sports. So make sure you check the Game Time app right before first pitch to make sure you're not missing any last-minute deals. And you can even get your comedy, theater, or concert tickets on Game Time as well. So take the guesswork out of buying all your MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. All right, elsewhere on offense, Pop Douglas might have been the best player out there on the field today. He was finally out of that red non-contact jersey for good this time, too. It wasn't just him trying to sneak by the medical staff. He was full contact. He's been dealing with that, thumb, hand injury. So he was good to go. And in 7s and 11s and team periods, 9 targets, 7 catches, One pass interference drawn, and the other incompletion was like just off his fingertips, maybe just a little bit overthrown on like a slot fade. So he's been their best receiver since the sprain, most consistent receiver since the sprain, and just good to see him like out there full go and still just kind of being unguardable for that Patriots defense.
Yeah, he's going to be a difference maker, and that's so apparently clear. He just has to stay healthy. And the other thing is he runs his route so quick. We talk about the protection. He's a guy that's going to allow the quarterback to get the ball in and out and be his own best pass protection. So really encouraging what he's done, as he continues to get healthy. That's a guy I don't need to see a ton of the rest of the summer. Keep him healthy, put him in bubble wrap. We'll see him week 1.
We didn't see a ton of him last summer, and it worked out nicely.
That's
so,
true. Yeah, they hit him last summer.
Yeah, so I would. It will be good to see him. I'm sure we get a little bit of him, and the joint practice, but game action, I would be very surprised preseason if we see much of Pop Douglas. But he looks good. He looks ready to go. Yeah, it's just staying healthy for him. So, other receivers, it was, Pop, and then it was kind of KJ Osborne and Jalen Reagor were working with that top unit, and then Tyquan Thornton was still a little bit limited. He mixed in a couple of full team periods, and he kind of took the place for Reagor. So it looks like those were kind of your top 3-4 receivers out there today. And then Tyquan had a couple catches. Anything else you see from that, either that group of receivers or just receivers as a whole there today?
I don't know that any one receiver stood out beyond Pop Douglas.
Beyond
Like
Pop,
you said,
yeah.
I think you mentioned that KJ Osborne had that one catch, but I wouldn't say it was a notable day one way or the other for any of the receivers.
Yeah, definitely. So the one kind of pass catcher news that was kind of big was Hunter Henry did limp off the field. I think it was during sevens. I missed exactly when it happened, but I think it was during sevens, about halfway through practice. So he went to the back shed, never came back out, missed all the team periods after that. So something to monitor there. Obviously would be a big loss, right? Like he's had a really good summer. He was one of their best players on the practice fields, I'd say, over the last week. And we know this Alex Van Pelt offense, it really features the tight ends, right? And he's not David Njoku. He's not that explosive, but down the field, he's been, really consistent. We see him still flash in the red area. So if he misses any sort of time here, that could be a pretty big deal for the offense because, you saw Austin Hooper elevated to really your starting tight end, and then Mitchell Wilcox behind him, who we talked about, like is still having issues catching the football. And, we've said as a blocking tight end, and, the Thursday night game wasn't great in that area as well. So Hunter Henry, hopefully it's nothing serious, but that could be kind of a big loss for this offense if it is.
So we just talked about Pop being like a real weapon, right? I think the most consistent member of the Patriots offense, at least at the skill positions, is Hunter Henry.
Yep.
And losing him as kind of a security blanket can't be understated how massive that would be. So team probably already needs one tight end. You lose Hunter Henry, that you have to completely change the equation of the offense.
Yep. We've been talking about, you had, what did you have on your roster? Like TBD for a third veteran tight end?
TBD. Yeah. TBD veteran tight end for the third spot.
So yeah, hopefully that's nothing serious with Hunter Henry there, because they'll probably need a third guy. Would you like to see Jaheim Bell maybe? I know we've talked about him so much. It's a different, like he's kind of in his own position. Like he's not exactly like a traditional tight end, but would you like to see him get a little more run, maybe where like Mitchell Wilcox is playing with Drake Maye? Just see if he could give you a little bit something more in that group.
I mean, I'd like to see more of him. I still don't think he's a traditional tight end. I think he's more of an H-back, but I do think now that he's kind of getting caught up after missing that first week of padded practice, I'd like to see him get more opportunities. But I don't think he replaces Henry in that sense, or even Hooper.
Yeah, definitely. Those two guys, if healthy, are locked in the top there. But and then nothing huge for running backs. They didn't run the ball that much today. Seemed like there weren't as many run stuffs though, so not many. We go back to like that first padded practice, they were breaking some big runs. There weren't that many, explosive runs, but there weren't that many run stuffs in the backfield. So maybe running the ball a little bit better, but nothing too major from the running backs there today. I think that's pretty much most of it for the offense, unless any other notes, misses, things to add that we missed.
think that's pretty much it. No, I think we got it all.
Yeah. It's kind of like a quiet, I don't know. The pads were on, the refs were there, but it was kind of not too much going on out there
It was
today,
honestly, I don't know. Take this for what it is. There wasn't, I guess Antonio Gibson early caught a lot of passes, but it didn't feel like the ball was being spread out a lot, and they were running different concepts. So it was a tough day. We could go through each play by play, but it's tough to say there's one guy that he's strung together a bunch of good plays today because there just weren't those sorts of opportunities in practice.
Yeah, it was literally Pop Douglas, and
yeah,
then
it was Pop Douglas
else,
we talked about, and
I don't think anyone else had more than 2 or 3.
I was going to say off the top of my head, Gibson had 3 early, and I don't think he did anything for the rest of the day. I don't think anybody else. Mitchell Wilcox may be the only guy that had more than 3 targets because the ball just finds him. That guy gets targeted a ton.
It keeps finding him.
Yeah, well, not his hands, but yeah, it wasn't. Nobody was and that's not to say everybody was bad. Again, it was just a very spread out effort. So it's not this one guy was all over the field or this guy kept getting a ton of targets. It was just, I think Jalen Polk caught 1 or 2 balls. Javon Baker had 1 target. Taekwon had 1 or 2 targets, caught 1. It's spread out.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going through it, and everyone has 2 catches. Hooper had 2, Rager had 2, Baker had 2, Polk had 2, Booty had 2. 1 was a flag, I think 1 got called back. Jacob Warren had 2, tons of check downs to Gibson and Mondre. So yeah, everyone kind of spread out today. And again, they were moving the ball, they were having some success. So and then Pop paced the whole thing with 7 catches. So that was kind of the offensive breakdown. But defense, 2 interceptions on the day. We mentioned those batted passes. Anthony Jennings got his hands on 1 and then tipped up to Armon Watts. The other one was in 1-on-1, so a little different. We talked about it. Gibson bobbled it into Juwan Bentley's hands. We saw that cornerback room we've been watching a lot opposite Christian Gonzalez. Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones were just kind of spectators today. Marcus Jones has been dealing with something, and Jonathan Jones just, no concern about him. So still mixing a lot of those corners opposite of Christian Gonzalez. It was kind of Marco Wilson and Alex Austin on the outside rotating, and then Sean Wade and Isaiah Bolden in the slot. So some good competition at those 2 spots opposite of Christian Gonzalez and kind of behind the Joneses when those 2 are healthy and ready to go.
Well, I think it's interesting. Isaiah Bolden repped a lot more in the slot today than we've seen. And I've talked about this. I have Sean Wade on the roster right now because behind Marcus Jones, who's still hurt, he's their only true slot corner. And that's a role they need filled. Now, if one of these other guys that's on the bubble, Isaiah Bolden, probably not going to be Marco Wilson. He's too much of a veteran at this point. But Isaiah Bolden or Marcellus Dio can play more in the slot. That might push Sean Wade off. And you're seeing them give Bolden, who played a little bit in the slot in college, those opportunities.
Yep.
So I think it's encouraged for Bolden to make the team because he's been good. There's just a ton of guys ahead of him. But if he can play in the slot, it shrinks the depth chart ahead of him a little bit. So I thought that was notable. And then just, another tough day for Christian Gonzalez. And at this point, it's is he a gamer or what's the deal? If he's a guy that's just going to snap his fingers and dominate when the games start, whatever. And every Patriots player that ever has bad training camp for the rest of history will thank him, because anytime somebody's having a down camp, people will just say, Christian Gonzalez was nasty.
2024 Christian Gonzalez.
But he is still allowing more catches than you'd want to see from a guy that you're counting on to be a shutdown number 1 corner, where he was drafted, you are expecting him to be a shutdown corner.
Yep. Yeah, he was in coverage on that KJ Osborne touchdown we were talking about earlier, and then he gave one up, and I think it was 7-on-7s to Polk, an out route. So he's still giving up 2-3 catches a day where you're okay, as you just said, if he's our number 1 and our shutdown guy, maybe not the best. But yeah, we'll see.
Right.
I'm still expecting the flip to kind of switch when we get into live game action. So hopefully that's the case. But the only other thing up front, really, up front on the defense, Matthew Judon seemed like he kind of upped his participation and activity level. Today he was participated in 1-on-1 pass rush drills, kind of looked like, Matthew Judon. And then he had a batted pass, another batted pass in 11s, and even like one play he dropped out and kind of shut down Javon Baker and took Jacoby Brissett's. That was the Osborne touchdown, I think. Judon dropped and took away Baker, and then Brissett had to go to, Osborne was running behind him, so he hit Osborne. So just good to see Matthew Judon out there. I think in the broadcast, one of the McCourties on Thursday night mentioned he was dealing with a nagging injury maybe, so didn't look like that today, but we'll still see how the contract goes. But he was out there full participant and looked like Matthew Judon. Anything from him or anyone else on that defense that stood out to you today?
So yeah, I thought Judon was really good. Again, first day back at it, and shows when he's locked in, he's still really good. I mentioned Bolden, that stood out, that he was in the slot, and Del Pettis working into that top defensive back rotation. He may be in for a role on this team. That I'm playing in the box some, which surprised me. I think of him more as a free safety. He's a little smaller, but I think what we're seeing, like when you see something like that, we've kind of talked him up. Now you see the coaches give him more of a role, and it's like, okay, well, we're seeing clearly the coaches are seeing too, because he's getting more playing time with it. And so seems like this isn't to say he's going to be like this superstar next to Evan McCourty, but for a UDFA on a team where we thought none of the UDFAs would make the team, it seems like Del Pettis is trending in the right direction for a roster spot. Long way to go. See if he can keep doing it, but definitely trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and Josh Bledsoe is still limited, so he's getting, he took advantage of those reps, where the opposite is a guy like Marte Mapu who still can't get out there, and now he's really seems to be falling behind, right? Like he was limited the first training camp practice, and he hasn't participated since. So that's kind of worrisome in his development. We talked a lot about N'Keal Harry and Tyquan Thornton, and it was a little different positions and, the old regime in that offense, but they get hurt early and then they fall behind. For a guy like, Marte Mapu didn't play much last year, and now, to be behind, kind of worrisome at this point. And his role when he comes back, if he comes back, kind of tough to envision right now. So yeah, Del Pettis. It's nice when we see something and then the coaching staff agrees with it, right? Like Pat
now let's see that happen at tackle. But yeah.
Hopefully. All right, yeah. Anything else? I think we can get into kickers in 1 second, but I think that was pretty much it. Offense, defense, a lot of conditioning work out there today.
We do have a lot to get into with the kickers, so
yeah. But good tease, because first, I got to talk to you guys about Prize Picks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members, and it's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers, as you just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And with Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 on this upcoming NFL season, as you make a Prize Picks lineups of players in as little or more as 60 seconds. And if you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stat projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Friday. So download Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Kickers, it was fun today. That was maybe the most electric part of camp so far, because there was one live and that Drake Maye hurry up. There was one kick, but then we ended with the usual 4 field goals, and they cranked the music even louder. They had players telling the fans, the season ticket holders that were there today, to get loud, and then they all like huddled around the kicker who was ready to kick, and they were dancing and they were yelling, all the players, even some coaches. DeMarcus Covington was really getting into it, and they were dancing and just causing mass chaos all around them. So that was really fun to watch. And then Joey Sly, 3 of 4, Chad Ryland, 2 of 4. They were working from 37 to 52 yards. And then Sly had the 1-minute drill he hit from 53. So slight leg up for Joey Sly today, but that was an electric and really fun field goal unit. You were ready to say, let's just do 2 hours of practice on this drill. That's all we need to do. But, kicker thoughts today.
Definitely a big day. Definitely a big day for Joey Sly. These were the game's still the game, but it felt like these were the most consequential reps of camp, right? You got the whole team around. You could feel the intensity, like it was real. And Sly starts off hitting that 53-yarder in the run on and then goes 3 for 4, where Chad Ryland went 2 for 4. And I think even Sly's miss was like right over the top of the upright. So very close.
They both missed. Yeah, Sly was wide left from 48, like right over the upright. And then one of Ryland's was like right over the upright to the right. And then the second miss, he pushed it even farther right. So,
yeah, I mean, so Gerard Mayo says on Friday the kicker competition's wide open, which to me means it's 50-50 from that point. And now you had Joey Sly have, I think, a definitively better day.
Yeah.
So advantage Sly right now.
Yep. So if you do the whole numbers from camp preseason, they've both kicked 33 times now, and Ryland is 28 of 33 and Sly is 27 of 33. So Ryland still has the lead there. But if you look at the kicks, Sly had the 57-yarder in the hurry-up drill. He had the 53 in the hurry-up drill today, and then he had the 42-yarder in actual game action, where Ryland, had the extra points in game action. He's missed in the hurry-up situation, so he's up 1 on the stat sheet. But if you break that down a little bit more, Sly probably he's got, if we go college football, he's got the resume, right? Like Sly probably has a little bit better of the resume right now where we stand.
Well, Sly to me is 4 for 4 from 50 plus. Ryland's 1 of 3 from that range. So what do they want? But 4 for 4 from 50 plus is impressive.
Yeah.
And this 100%. Can all change. Like if we go out there tomorrow and Joey Sly misses 3 kicks, it changes again. But I just think it was notable. Gerard Mayo saying it was wide open to me meant it was 50-50. Also, Brian, I don't know if you put any stock into this. Joey Sly's been going first. Early in camp, Chad Ryland was the first kicker up when they did these periods at the end of practice. Starting last week, Joey Sly was up first.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess maybe read into that a little bit, right? Because it was Ryland in the spring even, and then he started camp. So now Sly is going first. So
look, they're clearly trying to put pressure on these guys and see what they can do under pressure. And I just think Ryland's Sly so far has responded better to that. It's still close. It's still very close.
Yeah. And still a long way to go here.
Yeah.
Like, again, we could get on tomorrow and say, oh, Joey Sly went 1 of 4 and Chad Ryland went 4 of 4. And I think, because if Sly had the live situation today, you would assume Ryland gets the next live situation whenever that comes about. So this could flip flop, every day we get on and do a show here. But it was a fun drill, and Joey Sly really responded to it well with all those guys dancing in his face. So you might give him the slight leg up right now. So offense, defense, special teams, that was kind of the rundown today. Are you expecting, just quick look ahead tomorrow, are you expecting them to kind of tone it down a little bit and then get ready for that joint practice on Tuesday? Or are you thinking, let's just keep rolling, like pads, let's just keep rolling right into this thing right into the joint practice?
I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow's ramped down a little bit, kind of a walkthrough pace to get ready for that joint practice. But with Gerard Mayo, the tempo's been up. So
yeah, they've been going hard. A lot of padded practices, a lot of hitting. Yeah. We had a somewhat Oklahoma drill today where the running back or whatever would pick up the ball and they would meet. It wasn't tackling to the ground, but it was about as close as an Oklahoma drill as you could probably get in today's, whatever is legal in today's NFL with that. So they've been working hard. So we'll see how it looks tomorrow. But as always, we'll be back to break it down right here on Patriots Press Pass. So make sure you're subscribed. Turn on your notifications so you do know when we go live. We'll try to let you know on Patriots CLNS Twitter as well. You can also follow Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985thesportshub.com to read his training camp coverage from today as well. And you can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines, and head over to patspulpit.com to read my training camp notebook up there. So thank you everyone for tuning in with us today, and we will see you guys after practice tomorrow.